Chicago, a city of vibrant energy, breathtaking architecture. But beneath its gleaming facade, a darker reality simmers. Chicago has long grappled with a devastating epidemic of gun violence, leaving communities shattered and families torn apart. A constant reminder of the fragility of life in a city where danger lurks around every corner. Amidst this climate of fear, stories pierce through the darkness, forcing the city to confront the true cost of its violence. In November 2015, Chicago confronted the brutal reality of its gang violence. The murder of 9-year-old Tyshawn Lee sent shockwaves throughout the nation. Tyshawn, a bright-eyed fourth grader, became the face of Chicago's heartbreaking tragedy. His murder exposed the depths of gang warfare's depravity. His story is a chilling reminder that violence can touch anyone. Tyshawn's murder ripped away any illusion of safety. His smile became a painful reminder of the future stolen from him. This is the story of Tyshawn Lee, a story that delves into the heart of Chicago's gang violence. It's a story that needs to be told to honor a young life and shed light on the urgent need for change. It forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about gang warfare and its ripple effects. We will journey into the heart of Chicago's South Side, exploring the complex web of gang affiliations and poverty. We will examine the events leading up to Tyshawn's murder and the calculated plan that led to his death. Through interviews and court testimonies, we will piece together the events of that fateful day. This story is a call to action, a plea for understanding, and a search for hope. Chicago's struggle with violence is deep-rooted, woven into the city's history. From Al Capone's bootlegging days to powerful street gangs, lawlessness and brutality have long been present. Intense violence, fueled by poverty and racial tensions, punctuates the city's history. The rise of street gangs in the mid-20th century marked significant social upheaval. Displacement and job loss left many marginalized, turning to gangs for belonging. The cycle of violence in Chicago is perpetuated by a complex interplay of factors. Poverty, lack of opportunity, and systemic racism create an environment where gangs can thrive, offering a perverse sense of hope and belonging. The easy availability of guns further fuels the cycle of violence, making it all too easy for disputes to escalate into deadly confrontations. This climate of fear takes a heavy toll on residents, particularly children, who grow up witnessing violence firsthand. The murder of Tyshawn Lee stands as a chilling reminder of the human cost of this cycle of violence. November 2, 2015 dawned like any other autumn day in Chicago's Auburn Gresham neighborhood. A crispness lingered in the air, the remnants of summer's warmth clinging to the edges of the day. Children, bundled in light jackets, walked to school, their laughter echoing through the streets. Leaves, painted in shades of crimson and gold, swirled across sidewalks carried by a gentle breeze. Life, in its everyday rhythm, continued, oblivious to the darkness that was about to unfold. For 9-year-old Tyshawn Lee, it was a day filled with the simple joys of childhood. School had ended, and the promise of an afternoon spent playing basketball with friends filled his young mind. He grabbed his basketball and headed out the door, eager to meet his friends at the nearby park. The familiar route was one he'd taken countless times before. The neighborhood, despite its struggles, held a sense of familiarity. The park offered a brief respite from the harsh realities. As Tyshawn walked, his basketball bouncing by his side, he was lost in his own world. Tyshawn's path to the park took him past a narrow alleyway, a shadowy crevice that cut between two buildings. It was a place most kids avoided, its dimly lit depths holding an air of mystery and unease. Unbeknownst to Tyshawn, this innocuous-looking alleyway would become the stage for a horrific act of violence. Hidden from view, concealed within the alley's shadows, figures lurked, their faces obscured by the darkness. As Tyshawn drew closer, unsuspecting of the evil that lay in wait, the figures in the alley made their move. The sharp crack of gunfire shattered the peaceful afternoon. Reverberating through the narrow alleyway, the normalcy of the day was broken, replaced by a chilling silence. Word of the shooting spread quickly, carried by whispers. The sight that greeted them was one that would forever be seared into their memories. The community, once a tapestry of everyday life, was now united in grief. The park, once a sanctuary for laughter, now stood as a solemn reminder. The plan, hatched in the shadows of gang rivalry, was cold and calculated. Tyshawn, oblivious to the danger, was an easy target. His innocence made him vulnerable to the predators circling. Boondoti lured Tyshawn with the promise of a new video game. Tyshawn eagerly followed, unaware he was walking into a trap. The first gunshot shattered the silence of the alleyway, the sharp crack echoing off the brick walls like a clap of thunder. Tyshawn, caught completely off guard, barely had time to react before the second shot rang out, followed by another and another. The alley, once a place of shadows and whispers, was now filled with the deafening sound of gunfire, a terrifying symphony of violence that left no room for mercy. Boondoti, his face contorted in a mask of cold indifference, stood over the fallen boy, his finger still on the trigger. The gun, still smoking from the barrage of bullets, seemed to hang heavy in the air, a symbol of the senseless violence that had just unfolded. Tyshawn, his small body riddled with bullets, lay motionless on the pavement, his lifeblood staining the concrete a dark crimson red. The basketball, knocked from Tyshawn's grasp by the force of the bullets, rolled slowly across the pavement, coming to rest against a discarded soda can. It was a heartbreaking reminder of the innocence that had been brutally extinguished in that dark alleyway. The innocence of a child who just moments before had been filled with the simple joy of a game. Section 3. A city's outrage. News of Tyshawn's murder spread like wildfire through Chicago, igniting a firestorm of outrage and grief. The city, all too familiar with gang violence, struggled to comprehend the sheer brutality of the crime. The alleyway where Tyshawn drew his last breath became a makeshift memorial, a place where mourners gathered to pay their respects. The murder sent shockwaves far beyond Chicago, shaking the nation to its core. Section 1. Turf Wars and Retribution. To understand Tyshawn Lee's murder, one must delve into Chicago's gang landscape, where violence is currency and retaliation is a way of life. At the heart of Tyshawn's murder lay a feud between the gangster disciples and the Black P. Stones. Their rivalry, rooted in historical grievances and the drug trade, had turned neighborhoods into battlegrounds. Each act of violence only deepened the animosity, creating a climate where even innocent lives could become collateral damage. Section 2. A child as collateral damage. In the eyes of the gang members, Tyshawn was a symbol, a way to inflict maximum pain on a rival gang. Tyshawn's father, Pierre Stokes, was believed to have ties to the gangster disciples, making his son a target. The gang members saw Tyshawn's murder as a strategic move to strike fear into their enemies. It was a chilling reminder of the depths of depravity to which gang violence could sink. The news of Tyshawn Lee's murder ripped through Chicago like a fierce storm, leaving behind raw grief and anger. The image of a 9-year-old boy gunned down in cold blood shook the city to its core. Across the city, a collective gasp of horror gave way to an outpouring of grief. Churches held prayer vigils, and the site of the tragedy became a makeshift memorial. The outpouring of grief transcended neighborhoods, uniting a city in its shared sorrow. Tyshawn's story struck a chord with people far beyond the city limits, igniting a national conversation about gang violence. Tyshawn Lee's murder became a turning point for many Chicagoans, a wake-up call that the violence had reached a crisis point. The brutality of the crime forced residents to confront the harsh realities of gang violence. Community activists, religious leaders, and citizens rallied together, demanding an end to the violence. Marches and protests filled the streets. The message, clear enough, was enough. The murder sparked a renewed sense of urgency among city officials to address the root causes of gang violence. For a brief moment, it seemed as if Tyshawn's death might become a catalyst for real, lasting change. In the wake of Tyshawn Lee's murder, the Chicago Police Department faced immense pressure to bring the perpetrators to justice. The investigation, led by seasoned detectives, was relentless and thorough. The focus quickly turned to members of the Terror Dome faction of the Black P. Stones. The investigation led to the arrest of 3 men, W. Wright, Boone Doty, Corey Morgan, and Kevin Edwards. Boone Doty, identified as the triggerman, was a known enforcer for the Black Pea Stones. Morgan, a high-ranking member, was believed to have orchestrated the murder, driven by revenge. The arrests of Boone Doty, Morgan, and Edwards brought a glimmer of hope to a city desperate for justice. The 3 men were indicted on charges of first-degree murder. The prosecution built a strong case, presenting a mountain of evidence. Boone Doty's confession, a chilling account of the murder, left no doubt about his guilt. The trial, held under tight security, was a tense and emotional affair. Tyshawn's family, their faces etched with grief, sat through hours of testimony, their presence a constant reminder of the human cost of the crime. As the trial progressed, the weight of the evidence against Boone Doty, Morgan, and Edwards seemed insurmountable. However, the wheels of justice often grind slowly, and the path to justice for Tyshawn's family was proving to be long and arduous. Legal maneuvering and procedural delays stretched the trial out over months. For Tyshawn's family, each delay was another agonizing reminder of their loss. Despite the overwhelming evidence, the prosecution and defense were obligated to follow due process. The courtroom remained a sanctuary for the rule of law, where justice would ultimately prevail. As the trial dragged on, a bombshell dropped that sent shockwaves through the courtroom. Boone Doty confessed to his role in the heinous crime. His confession, detailed and chilling, provided a disturbing glimpse into the cold, calculating minds of those driven by gang loyalty. In a videotaped interrogation, Boone Doty recounted the events leading up to Tyshawn's murder. He admitted to targeting Tyshawn because of his father's alleged ties to a rival gang. The confession provided a measure of validation for Tyshawn's family and a community desperate for justice. While Boone Doty's confession seemed like an open and shut case, the wheels of the legal system often grind slowly. The trial, already fraught with delays, continued to drag on. The defense attorneys employed every legal tactic to delay the proceedings. Each delay, while frustrating, was a necessary part of the legal process. The courtroom remained the battleground where the truth was sought, and the rights of both the accused and the victim were fiercely protected. For Tyshawn Lee's family, each passing day of the trial was an agonizing reminder of their loss. They were forced to relive the horror of Tyshawn's murder, their grief laid bare in the public eye. Tyshawn's mother, Carla Lee, became a pillar of strength and resilience. She sat through countless hours of testimony, her presence a constant reminder of the human cost of the crime. The delays in the trial were particularly excruciating for Tyshawn's family. Their journey was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, the unwavering belief that truth and accountability would ultimately prevail. After a trial that stretched on for what felt like an eternity, the day of reckoning finally arrived for Boone Doty and Morgan. The jury delivered its verdict, guilty. The sentencing hearing provided little solace for Tyshawn's family, still grappling with their loss. The judge sentenced both Boone Doty and Morgan to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Carla Lee, Tyshawn's mother, addressed the court, her words piercing the somber silence. Her statement served as a stark reminder that no legal sentence could ever truly heal the wounds inflicted by such a senseless act of violence. While the guilty verdicts brought legal closure to Tyshawn Lee's murder, the scars run deep within his family and the Auburn Gresham community. The trial may have ended, but the healing process is ongoing. For Tyshawn's family, the pain remains a constant companion. Their lives are forever altered by his absence. The legal battle may be over, but their fight to preserve Tyshawn's memory continues. Tyshawn Lee's murder sent shockwaves far beyond the borders of his neighborhood, forcing Chicago and the nation to confront the uncomfortable realities of gang violence, gun control, and the societal ills that contribute to such tragedies. The image of a 9-year-old boy gunned down in cold blood became a symbol of a city grappling with its own demons, a stark reminder that even the most innocent lives can be lost in the crossfire of violence. In the aftermath of Tyshawn's death, city officials, community leaders and activists renewed their calls for comprehensive solutions to Chicago's entrenched problem with gun violence. Investment in social programs, job creation, mental health services and conflict resolution initiatives were touted as crucial steps towards addressing the root causes of violence and breaking the cycle of poverty and despair that often fuels gang activity. However, despite the best intentions and renewed efforts, Chicago, like many other American cities, continues to grapple with the scourge of gun violence. The factors that contribute to this complex issue are deeply rooted and multifaceted, defying easy solutions. Tyshawn Lee's legacy, while tragically cut short, serves as a poignant reminder of the urgent need for continued dialogue, collaboration, and action to create a safer future for all children.